Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all. It is 6 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is, however, a time for public participation during the meeting, as indicated in agenda item 3. If you would like to speak during public participation, there are forms, I believe, on the table in the back. So just fill one of those out and just get it up to the table so we can make sure we recognize you. Valerie, you call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Here.
Ms. Griffin.
Here.
Mr. Rudd.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Dr. Smith. Here. Mr. Kinder.
Here.
And Ms. Moeller. Here.
Let's all stay together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roman numeral 3, A, recognition of visitors and communications. We have, this is something new for us that we've not done before, so we don't have a protocol for how to do it. But we're going to be presenting the 2024 Ohio School Board Association Business Honor Roll recognition. And so I know at least one of our businesses was not able to be here, Walker Toyota. And so Jacob reached out to me and we wanted to recognize that business for their support of the district. Do we have anyone here from Don's Pizza Palace? Do we have anyone here from New View Nutrition? New View, all right. Just want to make sure that we recognize the businesses that support our community, and we really appreciate you. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you.
And do we have anyone here from the Farmer and the Deli? All right. I will tell you, the Farmer and the Deli is a block from my house. Their cookies are so ridiculously good. You guys are doing it right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Numeral 3B, Friends in Education 2024 Award from VBTA and recognition by the Board of Education.
This year's VBTA Friend in Education Award goes to Abigail Dennis, PTO President, and Jen Rupert, PTO Vice President. I know that Abigail can't be here today, but would you mind accepting these on behalf of both? Thank you. Read a little bit. Abigail and Jen have dedicated countless hours working in the primary and intermediate buildings for several years. They have worked tirelessly to improve school experiences for students and teachers. They have raised thousands of dollars for playground equipment and supplies. They have also organized the Christmas shop, shopping for hours, getting supplies for the shop, the fun run, popcorn events. They make sure every student gets a bag, and the book fair. VBTA thanks these ladies for their contributions to Valley View staff and students. They will be honored at the board meeting tonight, and they're also invited to join the VBTA Christmas celebration May celebration that we have here on Friday. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. Thank you.
Roman numeral 3C, Michelle Hudson's class and Dr. Shirley's class. We have a presentation by Mr.
Over here is good.
Okay. You got the keys. So I'm going to speak very, very briefly, just kind of explain what we have here. But at the beginning of this year, we had the opportunity at the high school to partner with a couple local businesses, one being Sochi, and then the other one being Yaskawa, to bring a paid internship experience to some of our students with disabilities here at Valley View High School. So they have time during their school day to work on this, and once again, it's a paid internship experience for them. So I'm going to let Mrs. Hodson kind of talk more about it here and a problem they ran into and how they fixed it. So I'll let you step up there.
Absolutely. This is a topic we could go on and on about for a long time, but the agenda is very long tonight, so we're going to make it as quick as possible. This is Brody Long, Jed Lynch, Brady Bell, Cody Wilson, Sabrina Setzer. We're also missing Sean Felicia's playing baseball, and Jack Speck, and that's Dr. Melissa Shirley. I teach students with high school students with disabilities. We have this opportunity. So Brody is one of our interns, and so we are putting together fuses for Yaskawa, which is a robotics company that's at Austin Landing. So Brody, what was our initial problem?
Holding together with one hand and filling it
Correct. So we had a really difficult time. You take 4 pieces and you put it together, and if you see I put this one together, it's not great. You have to hold it in one hand, keep this straight on top, and then screwdrive it in so that it's all flushed together. So I approached Dr. Shirley and said, hey, she's one of the smartest people I know, and she's an outside the box thinker. Can you help me? That was all I said. And this happened.
Okay, so the first step of our engineering process was understanding the challenge. So we went down to Miss Osmond's room with the life skills kids, and she told us the problem that she was having. So we took some measurements of the fuse boxes, and then we discussed some of the individual needs that the kids have. So our second step was what we called the ideation phase. So we came up with basic ideas. Each of us had different elements of ideas. And we basically made like bullet points, just big lists. This took like, I think it took a couple of days, just making giant lists of different things like robots and stuff. And then we made models with Legos and Kinects and even some other stuff. Our first step was creating a design. So we took elements of everybody's ideas and we put them together and we came up with a basic design of a box and springs that pushed the fuse against the wall. We kept them all aligned. And we used things like Tinkercad and basic sketches on whiteboards.
So once we had our first 3D print happen, we then looked at the design and looked at what we need to improve to allow for our clients to be able to use it independently by themselves. And once we felt like we had a design that could do that, we went down and to Mrs. Hodgson's room to see how they would do while using it. And after we did that, we then looked at how they did while using it and changed things we used to see if like the spring was too strong. So we changed the strength of the spring and we made the keyhole bigger because they were struggling pulling it back and keeping it in place and then letting go of it to be able to use it effectively. And then finally, after we did all of that, had a working prototype that they could use independently to be able to work with the Ashikawa and do everything they needed to do for their internship. So Brody's here today to tell us how that works.
So Doc and the kids made 2 variations of this. The one that Brody's using right now could be vice grip to the table so that it provides enough resistance. One student has really solid use of one hand and his other hand isn't the best at cooperating with him, obviously. Brody is my shining star, as I say all the time. But there's a second box, the small white one that they made that can be handheld, but it provides enough tension there that they can hold it in one hand and not have to worry about holding that comb on the top. I told the kids this really doesn't paint me a good light, and my whole contribution was a problem. But this is a great illustration of things that are happening at the high school level between different classrooms that you wouldn't on paper maybe think typically align with one another. We had the opportunity to take these 6 kids plus our 4 interns, Doc, and one of my paraprofessionals to Yaskawa about a week or 2 ago for a full tour. It was an excellent experience. And when I tell you that Doc is one of the most phenomenal educators I've had the opportunity to work with in a long 28 years, she's incredible. So not only was this an engineering part, but the entrepreneurship part of it, dealing with me as the client, dealing with the students, and looking at how accessibility changes someone's employability is something that I think really resonated with the 6 of them as well. So it's just been a great opportunity as you watch. Brody's knocking them out here, and no longer are we operating as a coworker. Now I'm simply just the supervisor, the lady who fills the paycheck, which is exactly what we want. The Scout has indicated that they're interested in hiring one of the students without an adult for next summer. And I think we can all agree that this is a fine candidate right here, but it's been a great opportunity and we're grateful for Patrick for finding it and for Doc for taking it and running with it.
So what we learned from this, from a physics concept, we learned what Hooke's law was, which is a spring constant and then forces and friction, how that is used in a design basis with the moving wall and getting it to pull back up being too difficult for people and getting caught. We also learned that we should continue to build off of our product because your first idea is never your final idea. And then Our biggest takeaways was that, like Mrs. Hodgson said, having the ability to use an adaptive device can make a giant change in their ability to be employed and have a job after high school. We'd also like to give a special thanks to Mr. Winkler in the wood shop and Mrs. Martin in ag education. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Have you guys considered going to the student achievement session at the Ohio School Board Association Capital Conference in November?
That'd be a perfect, Mr. McKee, yes.
Yep.
Great job.
All right, next item on the agenda, room number 3E, recognition of the Girls on the Run team by Katie Scott.
Thank you. I'm Katie Stein, and I am the school counselor at Valley View Intermediate, along with the 4 other wonderful Girls on the Run coaches. I'm Katie King. I'm Layla King, school counselor at the primary.
I'm Laura Boyd, I teach third grade. Jessica Wapsig, I'm the intervention specialist at the primary.
And so we have been talking about a couple years. Teachers have kind of started conversations in regards to getting a Girls on the Run team together. And so this year it came to fruition. So Girls on the Run, it inspires individuals of all abilities and ages, specifically in grades 3 through 5 for us. And they experience a sense of belonging and connection while working on their physical health as well. This season we had 16 participants. So because we had so many coaches volunteer, we were able to have a larger team. We practiced every Tuesday and Thursday for 10 weeks, working on specific skills as well as running skills. So here's a list of our participants. The girls voted and chose to be the Spartanettes. So we had our cheer at the end of every practice. So they learned skills. They learned cooperation, gratitude, compromise, choosing friends, communication, empathy. Every lesson incorporated these skills into the activity as well as the workout. So we worked with Mr. Samborough to use the track during that time. So all the big kids were out there running track. Our girls were out there practicing as well. So part of the Girls on the Run process is to also choose a community impact project to talk to them about giving back to their community as well. And so once again, the teammates voted and chose to give back to the community or the clothing closet within Valley View Intermediate. And so they spent one of their practices cleaning, organizing, doing tasks to help out. And they also collected items to donate back to the clothing closet. So learning that as the community as well. And then at the end of every season, Girls on the Run hosts a 5K. So last 2 weekends ago, we ran our 5K at Wright State University. So every team member had a running buddy, and they all finished their 5K, and they all did so great. And so we are really proud of them, and we wanted to take this opportunity to honor them. And then just some feedback from the girls in regards to what their favorite part of the Girls on the Run was. So how they walked and ran as a team, spending time with other kids and the coaches. A big part of Girls on the Run is finding your star power, finding your inner positive self. And so one of the girls talked about lighting up their star power in the community impact projects. Making new friends was a big theme, as well as coming together as a team and meeting new people they never met before. Another feedback was, what did you learn? How to pick up your pace and know what to do when you're running. Learning more about how to boost others' confidence, to have courage and kindness, being brave, So a lot of really positive feedback with our first year. Us 5 coaches do plan to do it again in the spring. We've also talked about, they have a higher 6 through 8 team too, so it's called Heart and Soul. So we're talking about continuing this in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Roman numeral 3E, Valley View Education Foundation naming rights program.
So I am here today with an update on the Valley View Educational Foundation fundraising effort. The purpose of our foundation is to raise money to benefit the school district. We are a separate organization from the school district, but working to raise money to support that. You can see here the members of our board. We've been working for a couple of years now to be ready for the building project. And we are now ready to launch a fundraising effort that will provide people the opportunity to have donor recognition within the new school building. So this is what it's going to look like. This board will be placed in a prominent spot in the new building, where it's a little bit yet to be determined. But we will have donors from $250 on up that will be recognized here on this board for many years to come. We will also have opportunities for people to name individual areas of the buildings, classrooms, educational spaces that will be recognized in this way with actual signs outside of the buildings, outside of the space that will recognize the donors. So the next steps for where we want to go from here is to spread the word. We would like to have a space on the community page of the district's website. I would also like to ask Kathy to share some of our social media messages as well. We will be doing personal outreach among the people that we know, and we're really going for maximum participation here. We have a lot of opportunities that, like I said, start at $250, so we hope to have as much recognition for as many community members as possible. And then as a follow-up, we will provide quarterly updates to the board. We intend to close the fundraising portion for the donor wall itself by August 1st so that we can have it in place by the time the new building opens. Any questions? All right, great, thanks.
Appreciate it. Roman numeral 3F, presentation of the district student wellness and success, disadvantaged pupil impact.
We go. Sure. So thanks very much for having us in to talk a little bit about this. This is the Disadvantaged Pupil Impact Aid and Student Wellness and Success Fund. That just rolls off the tongue. But it's one way that we are able to provide some services and opportunities for the district. So, for your information, the Department of Education and Workforce requires that we present this information to the board. And you'll see how the district plans to use our funds to provide services and supports for the students. For the fiscal year 24-25, districts and schools must use at least 50% of the funding for mental health services or physical health services or a combination of those. Thank you. So you should each have a hard copy of this slide right here. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So this is kind of a list of the services that we have selected to utilize these funds for. The funds are not new, but with our 50% that we have to use for the specific services. Yeah. One of the tools that we use is what our green circles and our blue squares have come from. And so there was a whole little spreadsheet for us to look at. What are we doing? What initiatives do we need to add, balance out? Our green circles support the student wellness and success funding. And then the blue squares are the disadvantaged pupils impact aid. So those kind of match along with what the state gave us. And so that's why you see those there. The first initiative that we are going to continue funding and supplementing is our mental health services, our partnerships with those agencies, South Community, as well as Catalyst Counseling. This also will cover the one school counseling fund or position that was under ESSER, and now will be transitioning into this plan.
I'll share also that we go into partnership with another entity, and that entity for us is the ESC with Candace Sears. So she's a part of that.
That's part of one of the requirements this year. So that's the new piece with the funding, is that we needed to make this plan in partnership with another entity. And so we are working with Candace at the ESC.
So physical health services would be the next one down from there with the check mark, saying that this is something that will continue to be nursing services and in the upcoming 24-25 school year to provide physical cards, to provide physical care to those in need. And then Premier Health currently is the one that provides those services for us. The next one down is the community liaison and programming. And over the last couple of months, we've identified areas through the district that needs attention, such as implementing PBIS throughout all the buildings and at all 3 different tiers. This is something that we want to be working on. And provide mental health services inside and out of the school building, allowing our staff to be able to go into homes, et cetera, outside the school district hours if possible, if needed. And then also align the whole child framework and the updated strategic plan and portrait of a graduate just kind of really blends in really well with what we're talking about here.
So the next one we're continuing to look at is a need that we kind of always see across the district, and so that's family engagement activities. One of the pieces that these fundings are helping with is the continuation of using Parent Square to kind of communicate with families back and forth and overcome some of those barriers that we have.
The next one is second to the bottom, that's dropout prevention. And we look at several different, and our district's doing a great job looking at several different opportunities to help us keep our kids in school and finish and cross that line and graduate. That includes Graduation Alliance, Edgenuity, again, ways that the resource coordinator can help out, help students connect with community-based resources and trauma-informed training. And then the last one, school safety. We obviously want to be able to provide safety and security for all students and staff throughout our local school district. And SRO or student resource officer would be helpful in this way as well. I know, Valerie, you were a part of this as well and met with us several times. Do you have anything else that you want to share or add?
Just with we're presenting this and the new school funding method formula kind of changed the way this is allocated. These are funded through the actual general fund. So in my next presentation, I'm talking about the 5-year forecast. You'll see me talking about some of these expenses. And because now it appears in the general fund, but they are what the state deems as restricted in that they can only be used for these certain items and a whole laundry list of things. But these are the items that our district has focused on to be able to spend those dollars on. And we have to report back to the state. So you'll hear this a couple different times, and the reason being is these funds are now do appear in the general fund. And we are restricted in how we use that to these selections.
Thanks so much. Roman numeral 3G, Henry Health Sports Medicine. Lori,
Hello, thank you for having me today. I'm Lori Oda. I manage Henry Health Sports Medicine.
Sarah Walker, I'm the executive director for therapy and sports.
So we have been a proud partner of the Valley School District for well over 20+ years. Sports medicine across not only Southwest Ohio, but across the country has been changing and shifting 15, 20 years ago. It was a paid service. Then it went to in-kind donation with sponsorship dollars, and about the past 2 to 3 years, it really started to shift back. A lot of our healthcare partners or healthcare competitors had already started shifting that way. And for Kettering Health to continue to be a sustainable business model, to provide great care to the communities, we are gradually changing that direction as well. You guys should have a contract to review to be able to hopefully continue to partner with you, providing the same quality of service that you guys have become accustomed to for over 20+ years, as well as providing some additional things. Our concussion-based testing, we utilize the EMR system the same as you would if you walked in any healthcare door for Kettering Health, which is my chart. As well as a couple other things to better provide care for your student athletes and the community as a whole. So, questions? Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. And numeral 3H, public participation. Valerie, do you have any?
I did not receive one.
All right, okay. Let's move on. Roman numeral 4, approval of the minutes. I make a motion that we approve the regular board meeting minutes from April 15th, 2024, the special meeting of April 23rd, 2024. As a consent item, both at the same time. I made a motion to that effect. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Valerie, call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Ms. Griffin. Yes. Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore. Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Roman numeral 5, building project update.
So over the last month, there's been a lot of different things going on, exciting things. They got the playground foundations installed since last time. All the sidewalks are now installed on the south side of the building along the elementary wing. About 150 people on site. The primary wing is sectioned into 3 different colors. Primary colors for some kids go to orange for kindergarten, first grade, green for second, third, and blue for fourth. They're starting to get those kind of colors on now as well. The elevators are on site, they're delivered, not installed yet, they are delivered. And then I've been working on getting a grant for ballistic window film for the first 8 feet all the way around the perimeter. I've had that turned in by June 17th. I'm also going to include light reader cameras front and back driveways. Hopefully I can get it through. That's all I got for that.
Thanks, sir. Roman numeral 6A, financial reports. Recommend the board approve the financial statements for the month ending April 30, 2024. Do you have a motion to that effect? Second? Discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Ms. Griffin. Yes. Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore. Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Roman numeral 6B, presentation and approval of 5-year forecast and notes and assumptions.
Thank you. I wanted to go through this real quickly because we did have a long agenda tonight, but it's important for us to talk about it. Very good. Stand apart. Okay, This is the 5-year forecast presentation. We give this presentation. We update the 5-year forecast 2 times a year, every 6 months, in May and in November. The things I'm going to touch on tonight are giving an update of the 5-year forecast. We're going to give a brief overview of the process just to know what all goes into this. Some of the forecasts, some of the elements, the risks, uncertainties, and opportunities, and then a basic conclusion. And this is just for the general fund, is what we're talking about here. A brief overview is, in terms of years, we funnel down. We start with a 10-year forecast, and with 3 years of actual data, 10 years we forecast out. We don't know everything that's going to happen, but we can trend it out. Then what happens in the most current future year is you will receive in June, we will be approving a certificate of estimated resources and appropriations. That is basically our general fund budget for fiscal year 2025. But before we even get to all this point, we have had input from our different budget managers to be able to develop our forecast. We've asked all of the building principals, hey, what does it take to run your building next year? Hey, what does our staffing look like next year? All of that is used and it's rolled up. So it's not just Valerie Hill sitting in her little cubicle crunching numbers. We've asked for input and taken a look at the operations of the district. And it's updated and approved. It used to not have to be approved by the board, but now it is required to be approved every 6 months by the board. So we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off here and take a look at what we're forecasting. As we see, these are our 3 years of actuals. This is I'm presenting only 5 years forecast because that's what's required. What we can see is our revenues and our expenses are in orange. Our yellow line here is our cash balance. So we see some nice cash balances, and then in the future, we see those going down. However, it looks very good because the Governmental Finance Officials Association recommends that school districts keep a 60 days supply of cash on hand. We stay above that until 2028. And even that's 60 days. We are not projected to go have negative cash balance until 2031. So we have lots of time to correct course and make some strategic decisions. Now, what I wanted to talk about, we see our line going down, our cash balance going down. I wanted to talk about what some of the cost drivers are for 2025. We have been talking about them for a long time. ESSER funds expired in 2024, so a lot of those expenses come back into the general fund, and that's what we're seeing for a lot of it. So ESSER funds coming back in, we've got 2 teachers, we've got a counselor, we've got summer school, we've got a literacy coach, all things that we have determined that these are really fantastic things to help us get beyond the pandemic. And some curriculum products that we found through the ESSER funds that have been deemed, hey, we really like this. Examples include Edgenuity, that's our digital academy. That also helps with credit recovery. Some really great things. Rise Up Industry Credentials. What that allows students to do is to take some online courses and get some industry credentials before they even graduate. Acadience is a benchmarking system that we use for our dyslexia measurements and reporting. Generation Genius helps with some science lessons. Branching Minds, you heard last month that Mr. Staffenborough used Branching Minds to data mine the success of our summer school. Branching Minds is a monitoring software that our teachers can use from K to 12 to watch a student's success through the years. Then Writable License, that helps write essays and that allows teachers to read, to provide edits, to grade, those sorts of things. We see our student wellness and success. We have been using what's called Fund 467. That is also the majority of that came from ESSER, but it is different. But we have been funding our mental health counselors and our SROs through that. Those expenses will come back to the general fund in fiscal year 25. And then other activities, we know that athletic training services that Ms. Oden just discussed, those are new expenses that we didn't have this year, that we will have next year. Also, transportation, our transportation is telling us, we have been forecasting 2 buses. Transportation is telling us, hey, the new school, we're going to need 4. So what is new this year? Forecasting for 2025, we've known a long time that these funds have been expired, and we have been forecasting those. All the items in green, our teachers, our counselor, our summer school, our curriculum products, we have been forecasting those for several years. Coming back to the general fund, we knew in 24 it was going to expire. What is new is the literacy coach and the athletic training services and our 2 bus routes. Then we kick into 2026, when we try to pull in some of the major cost drivers. Our Fund 467 is required to be fully exhausted by the end of fiscal year 25. So what that will pull in is that will be in 26, we're going to be bringing 1 nurse back into the general fund, as well as our lead mental health specialist and student and success facilitator. Also, the athletic training services that we have forecasted last year, we are being given a discount for this year. Next year, in 2026, I expect that to be a fully loaded contract. And then also, we've had a literacy coach, and we're also forecasting a math coach to support our strategic plan. The literacy coach has been a tremendous success and help in getting our scores up and rebounding since COVID, and we're looking at bringing in a math coach. This is in fiscal year 26. So what we have been forecasting in 26 are the nurse and the lead mental health specialist coming back in. What is new is the fully loaded athletic training and our math coach. So we've known some things that are going to be happening, and we've been forecasting it. We know we're going to have a couple really tough years, and we're going to have to make some strategic decisions into what we want to do. So this forecast is as of today, and we all know forecast is only good today. Tomorrow it changes. So what are our risks, our opportunities, and our uncertainties? So in our forecast, in the 5-year forecast, I'd like to talk about some of the things that I consider as our biggest risks and opportunities. We've got property tax reform, something called a local capacity calculation. We'll talk about, get into a deep dive into the state funding formula. I know everybody's excited. I'm teasing. We'll talk about income tax revenues and our updated cost inputs, all to do with the state funding formula. Our first slide that I want to talk about is our property tax forecast. We see in 2022 and 23, really not a big change. 24, a little bit bigger of a change, and our line is trending up. One of the big things that happen is that Bellevue hits the 20 mil floor. That is historic for us. We've never been on the 20 mil floor. We've had the Montgomery County Auditor Carl Keith in January to discuss this because it's new. However, in the State House right now, they are holding committees on property tax reform. So if anything changes with property tax reform, this could change our picture. Now, let's talk about income tax. Our income tax collections. One thing that's important is this is the most recent information available. It's rather dated. I've got 20 and 21. That's the best we have at the moment. In November, I'll definitely have 22 information. It's just not available right now. Being able to band them in these income groups is, it takes them a while to do that. It's just the information just is not available. the important thing that I wanted to mention here is that nearly 50% of our income from our base comes from 17% of our taxpayers. So, and it holds true historically, at least in these 2 years. That's most information I have. I anticipate it holding true in the future. So, we are not unlike many rural districts in Ohio in that rural districts have a property tax and they have an income tax because the agricultural area doesn't want to bear all the burden, so we have an income tax to smooth out that burden. The district, historically, the income tax has been a very stabilizing force for our district finances, and that's wonderful. But it's a less predictable stream of revenue collections for the district. So I am really, really watching our income closely. And this is the reason why. This is our income tax base in total. I don't have a band, don't have the information banded. So I only have it in total. In 2021, it's generally flat. Then between 21 and 23, we see a 17% increase in the base. COVID, everybody's talking about it. Wages are increasing. All the things that we've been hearing. From 22 to 23, it has been flat. So we will not see, I'm not forecasting the historic upward trend that we've been seeing. I'm holding things flat. I believe that's where it will be. Now the good stuff. When we get into the state funding formula, what has happened is that there's a lot of people who are experts in the state funding formula, and they have been saying we have had a historic increase in property values all across the state. School districts, this will affect you. Be looking at this. So I've been looking at it. Within the state funding formula, there are a lot of weights, a lot of averages used, and what that has done, the reason for that is to kind of smooth out the trends. You know, you don't want school districts to ride the dragon's tail and do this all the time. That would be really, really difficult for any school district to manage. So bear in mind, there's a lot of weights, a lot of averages. But what it all boils down to is that we calculate a local cost to educate a student. We back out what the state has termed the local capacity, and the remainder is the state portion, what the state helps you fund. So I want to take a look at this local capacity. Well, using cost estimates from your own district, creating an average, local capacity. What it looks at is 60% of the assessed property value per student, plus 40% of your income, district income per pupil, and the remainder equals your state portion per pupil. So they are funding what it takes to educate your student in your district, what the district is expected to bring to the table, and the state fills in the rest, essentially. Again, a lot of things underneath the covers, but that's what it all boils down to. That's what the formula is trying to address. The cost to educate a student. The budget has been updated just once since the formula came into effect. And at that time, the cost inputs were updated. So this cost to educate was updated based upon district costs. However, this is not guaranteed. That had to be built into the state budget. The state house had to say, yes, we will update the costs. Our assessed property valuation increased significantly. So we will be taking 60% of a bigger number now per pupil. And that will most likely reduce our state portion that we receive. A lot of other things can happen. But on the surface, that's what I'm seeing, and that's what the forecasting people are shouting to the rooftops. Watch out. put this in your forecast. Make sure you're looking at it. This slide is just kind of demonstrating the local capacity for all the school districts in Montgomery County. So what you can see, here's Valley View, and Valley View is expected to participate, to bring about 50% of the cost to educate their students to the table. Schools such as Oakwood are expected to bring in a much higher capacity, local capacity. Centerville, a lot more capacity. So in Northmont, some of these schools are in trying to make things meet now because they don't have the resources. They're not able to bring in their local capacity. Those local capacities are not voted in. So it's really a huge struggle for them. Valley View is in a nice position. In that we're expected to bring 50%. Right now, we're bringing about 60. So that's why we're seeing that it all ties together. That's why we're seeing our cash balances go up. So our percentage of funding. Here we are in 2022, 23, 24. We're expected to bring in our local capacity is at 49.8%. We're bringing in about 59.5 from local sources, not state funding. But I'm trending this up throughout the forecast because of our property values. I'm seeing our local capacity go up. Still remains, we still are bringing in what we should. But again, a lot of this can change. But that's some of the basics behind the forecast. So the conclusions is we are in not much different than before. We are a healthy district. We have a nice, strong cash balance. However, we need to be aware that we have some work to do. We have some strategic decisions that need to be made. But we need to pay close attention to the inputs and to the state funding formula. And what's really good is we're in 2025 talking about this. We're not seeing a huge trouble. We're not even seeing huge trouble until 2031. We've got a long time to work with this. We're in a good position. So, does anybody have any questions? Does it make sense? I'm sorry. I know it's try.
So, obviously, we don't know the parameters in a forecast. Forecast is just what you said it was. And so you have to make some decisions as a treasurer. How am I going to forecast? Forecast conservatively? Am I going to forecast with big hopes that things are just going to work out? I mean, can you give the community a sense of your approach to forecasting?
I try to forecast the worst case and try to be as conservative as possible. I don't try to go for pie in the sky because I don't want to be on the other end of that. I'd rather be the hero. Yay, we did great. Rather than saying, "Oh, sorry guys, I messed that one up." I don't want to miss it. So, and that's one of how treasurer gets gold stars to make their forecasts. So that I go conservatively. I try to be realistic. I try to, talk to everybody, that all the treasurers, and see what everybody's doing and incorporate everything I can into our forecast. So that's typically my mode of operation.
For those who don't know, she's worked at our getting there. Valerie does an absolutely amazing job, and she had everything. So thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Roman numeral 7A, new business. Recommend the board approve the contract to employ Andrea Cook as superintendent per the attached resolution. Would someone like to make a motion to that effect? Second. Any discussion? I think it's important for the community to know how this process, how we came to arrive at the idea that Ms. Cook might be the best person for our next superintendent. Mr. Schaller pulled together administrators and reviewed a number of resumes. interviewed a number of people. They provided 4 votes for us as a board that they would like for us to interview. Obviously, the board reserved the ability to decline or to add others to that, because we also had access to all of the individuals. By the end of the interview process, and I don't want to speak for everybody else, I think it was so abundantly clear that we had a candidate that was what we were looking for. It was genuine consensus. And so the reason why we're voting on this tonight, I think, is because everybody on this board and our current superintendent have the highest confidence in her ability to do the job. And this is one of the most important things that we do. So we took it very seriously, and I'm very excited to vote on this. Discussion. Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Ms. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Roman numeral 7B.
Excuse me, Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Can we go back one, because we did the presentation, can we get an approval on the 5-year forecast, please?
I don't know, for some reason I thought there was an approval later, but you're right, the approval is there. Yes, Roman numeral 7B, take 2. Approval of the 5-year forecast. I make a motion that we approve the 5-year forecast. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Ms. Griffin. Yes. Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Roman numeral 7B, approve and enter into the official board minutes the names of the 2024 graduates as verified by the high school principal. And we have copies of those names. Someone make a motion to that effect? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Congratulations, everybody. Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Ms. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Roman numeral 7C, recommend the board approve the resolution implementing reduction in force. Valerie, can you explain what it says?
Yes, we have a first grade teacher that we will not be bringing back next year, so in order, the legal counsel advice is, even though she is a long-term substitute, legal advice is to go through the reduction in force procedure.
I'll make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Valerie, call the roll.
Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Ms. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Yes.
Roman numeral 7D, recommend the board approve the updates to the lead mental health specialist job description. We have copies of that in the packet. The board, some make a motion to that effect. We're going to award the motion to Tyson. Do I have a second? All right. Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Ms. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Rudd.
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore.
Yes.
Dr. Smith.
Roman numeral 7E, recommend the board approve changes to preschool, primary and intermediate school, junior high school, and high school handbooks. Board copies provided to y'all. Just to make a motion to that effect. I'll make a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes. So there is a section within the handbooks that discusses a deadline for emergency contact information to be filled out and turned back into the school by September 30th in order for students to be able to attend field trips, et cetera. When I had the opportunity to spend some time with a school nurse a couple of weeks ago, we ran into another situation that got me thinking about the need for having forms turned in by a certain time for medications that may be needed to be used in an emergency setting, such as seizure medication, asthma medication, diabetic medications, and a way to make sure that we're not only protecting our students, number one, making sure that our staff has the supplies and the appropriate forms filled out to keep the district safe as well from any legal implications. So we're going to take a look at that a little bit further, and we've been making some addendums to, again, to kind of cover us in that particular area.
Any other discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Numeral 7F, F1 personnel, approved personnel as recommended in attachment number 4. Someone can make a motion to that effect. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
From the numeral 7G, recommend the board approve Kettering Sports Medicine Wellness Education Services and Sponsorship Agreement Silver Package. We have copies of that. I'll make a motion to that effect. Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Just real quickly, Representative from Kettering Health touched on it earlier, but this was something that was previously a paid service. It became an in-kind contribution, and that's something that's been kind of transitioned out. My understanding, and Mr. Race will tell me if I'm wrong, is that we are getting a pretty hefty discount on the package this year. I believe people ought to be paid for the work that they do, and I would never insist that anybody give for free what they do for a living. And so, I recognize the realities of their business, and I recognize the reality of our situation. And so I'm just thankful to them that they were willing to work with us on this, and then we'll get back to paying full price. Perhaps next year, we'll see, but we'll deal with that when it comes. And I thank Valerie for keeping that in mind when she does her forecasts, so that we're not hitting unexpected things. So I appreciate everybody's work and working towards getting this for this year. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just want to thank Valerie and Gracie for taking a look at other comparable plans out there too. So it wasn't that you just took Kevin's bid or whatever you want to call it. They did look at some children's hospitals as well. So definitely, good for them. So.
Valerie, call roll.
Yes, Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7H, recommend the board approve the resolution waiving competitive bidding and authorizing contracts for the football stadium lighting renovation project based on an urgent necessity. Valerie, could you explain the situation for this?
Yes, Mr. Chair, yeah. Let's let the secretary tell.
So we noticed one of the poles at the field was leaning more than we talked as a team and decided to hire a professional engineer to come out and check it out.
How far should it be?
Not much. Okay. And it's nearly touching the leak there, so we had to come out and check it. His recommendation was in fact to replace the one immediately. The second one, if I remember right, was supposed to be done next year, and then the other two were waiting 3 years. When we got to look at the mobilization costs and everything, get those trains back out, in and out, it just makes sense to go ahead and get them knocked out now. We do have a local community member that's very involved in this, and saving us a good deal of money already for just not being able to get, this price is definitely exceptional.
Thank you. It's one of those unexpected costs that pop up from time to time.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're in a position to address it. I make a motion that we approve this resolution. Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I think we should consider that business as well in the future. Business award support for the community, I think earlier.
I'm sorry, it's painful.
All right, any other discussion? Val, would you call the roll?
Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 7I, recommend the board approve the following board policies. You have them listed there, you have copies. These are in keeping with legal requirements that we update our policies as to certain issues. So we don't pick and choose which laws to follow. We follow the ones that we put before us. So that's what this is for. I make a motion to approve those policies. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Val, would you call the roll?
Sorry, yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Rudd?
Yes.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Roman numeral 8, superintendent's comments.
First of all, I'd like to thank the businesses for the support that they gave Valley View. You know, we have 4 awards tonight, but there are several community district businesses that really help out throughout the year for Valley View Local Schools. So I'd like to thank them all. I'd like to congratulate the class of 2024. They're going to graduate on May 28th. And graduation is at Southbrook Church. I'd like to congratulate Andrea. I don't know if you guys know, she's sitting here. You want to stand up real quickly, Andrea. And later after the meeting, we'll have some cookies, and some water, and you guys can meet her, talk to her, tell her about all the problems we have and so forth. And again, I'd like to thank all the people who participated. There's a lot of things going on in Valley View Local Schools, and a lot of people don't see those. And I want to thank the people for participating and standing up here and explaining what's happening. Thank you.
Roman numeral 9, board member comments. Let's start with Carson and let's go.
Well, first of all, congratulations to Ms. Cook. It's exciting. From the looks of it, I think we have a good candidate, and I'm excited for the future. But with that being said, this is my last meeting with everybody, so I just wanted to say thank you to the board for the opportunity. Good luck in the future.
So, I want to welcome this club. It was a wonderful opportunity to get to know you during the interview process, and I'm really excited for what you're going to bring to Valley View Schools. I don't think there was a better option available. I'm just really excited to have you on board. Good luck in your future. I want to congratulate the class 2024. And that's really all I have.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome Andrea Cook too. Look forward to working with you. I just can't say how nice it is to have so many different groups come up tonight and present all the great things that's going on within the district that a lot of people don't get to see, and it was just really nice to hear.
I'll echo that. In particular, I thought Dr. Shirley and Ms. Hudson's classroom presentation was tremendous. I learned some things about the engineering process along the way, and so that's always good. Couple things that I feel like Mayor mentioning in the district. One, we're continuing the building issues with Farmersville and Germantown. Those are the elephant in the room, and if there's an elephant in the room, you might as well talk about it. Those are still at the forefront of our concern. I had sat in with Germantown City Council on Monday, an executive session after their meeting, to talk about some things that they might be able to do to assist us. I will tell you what I told them. The situation with the school in Germantown isn't their fault. It isn't their responsibility, but you know what? It is their problem. And we want to be partners with them to help solve that problem. And they have some tools in their toolbox that we don't have available to us. And we have some tools that they don't have available to them. And we have some opportunities to work together to find a solution there. So I'm really thankful for that. Farmersville's in a little bit different situation. And so I think I want to reiterate, just so that everyone understands, once we know the parameters, and right now there's still a lot of variables. When this building project is over, a lot of those variables will no longer be variables. We'll know those numbers. We are in a good position cash-wise. We have to be very good stewards of that. And so it's not like you can't say, well, we got all this cash, we'll just go check and demolish the buildings. It's not that simple. We also have fine arts and performing arts issues that we need to address as a district, because that's very important. And so we've got a lot of things that are currently up in the air, but don't think for a minute that they're not on our radar. And it is the responsibility of this board to figure it out. And so that's what we're going to be working on. So I want you to be aware that just because we're not talking about it during meeting, doesn't mean it's not there. It's underneath the surface and you're fully aware of it. The second thing I want to address, I want to thank Joe for his willingness to stay on up through January, February. And the question was raised this week. You say you hope sooner? The question was raised this week about, well, why do we have two people? If you recall, 2 years ago, we did have two people in the superintendent's office. That stopped. And because we saw it as something where there wasn't necessarily a need for two people in that office during the construction process, unless one of them's going to be swinging a hammer. However, during the move process, that is a significant administrative burden. And we need to make sure two things for our new superintendent. One, that she can come in and have the benefit of the institutional knowledge that Joe possesses for that transition. Any business that was in our position would make the business decision to transition rather than have someone start cold. Second, we need to make sure that during that transition, we have full attention on academics and full attention on the move. And you can't have full attention on two things with only one person. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. And I think it's a good decision. I think it's the right decision. I think we're setting our next superintendent up for success. I think we're setting our students up for success by doing that. So to the extent that there's a question out there why we're doing doing it that way, that's fine.
Congratulations. We're looking forward to working with you. And also congratulations to the Valley View graduates. And I said this last year, I'll say it again this year. What we do as board members, it can be very tough sometimes. You're not going to please everybody. We try and really be intentional about making decisions and really thinking about all of our constituents. But I'll tell you, probably the top thing for me is being able to be a part of the graduation ceremony. It's pretty special, They're our future. Those graduates are our future, and we're investing in them. And it's a huge celebration for them, and it's quite an honor to be able to hand a diploma over to these students. So that's for me, pinnacle for me. Really want to congratulate Aiden and Marin on the track team for breaking some records, and then also for our track team, the girls, I think we're number 1 in SWBL and boys number 2. Girls won it 3 years in a row. That's pretty awesome. Girls on the run, maybe we can really build even more. So that's about it.
So you still my thunder in front of you. I'm sorry. No. Congratulations, Ms. Cook. Congratulations to class of 2024. I got to attend the FFA Awards banquet, and it was pretty neat because 30 years ago I was in the FFA, which was a completely different program. It was a hobby, and Ms. Miller has built quite a program with these kids that really depend on her. I mean, the things that they've learned in their time in the FFA have been life-changing, and it was obvious as those kids received their awards, the impact that Mrs. Miller had on their life. They ran the awards presentation like an FFA chapter meeting, and in the closing meetings, the president said something that was very profound, and it just, it was really cool to have a high school student tell you these things that really rang true, and I wanted to read those out loud. And this is just an excerpt from the president's statement. So part of it says, let us be diligent in labor, just in our dealings, courteous to everyone, and above all, honest and fair in the daily life. And that just really hit me as an adult, hearing these kids say these things and hearing these kids learn these things. So I wanted to give a big thumbs up to those guys. Congratulations. And congratulations to Ms. Miller's program. It's fantastic.
I'd like to congratulate Ms. Doug for the work we do, and I'd also like to congratulate people, seniors, and Carson has been very helpful throughout all of this, answering all my many questions, and I'm sure he'll do great things. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn? We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Valerie, would you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
Ms. Griffin? Yes. Mr. Rudd?
Yes,
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes.
Dr. Smith?
thank you, everybody.